I'm not making any money talking these days. Good Christ. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not gonna lie to you. Still am. I guess I am a decent guy because I'm a fucking jerk, and I'm not a jerk. Apparently, I'm a dick. I'm not an awful guy, but I've done so much ridiculous stuff. I'm an awful guy. Hey, what's happening? 40-Year-Old Boy Podcast, episode number 21. That's right, blackjack, folks. Everybody gets paid this week. And a dealer is standing there with a soft 17, nothing he can do, and you just bust over your 21 and fuck that guy right in the ear. Oh, it's good to be here, and I don't know what that means. That's what I say on stage. That's my crutch on stage. It's always terrible. Pardo used to make fun of me all the time because I would say, well, it's good to be here. And if you see me and you hear me say, well, it's good to be here, you know things have gone awry because I say that 1,000 times in shows where like it's not going well because it's like literally as if almost if I were trying to convince them that it's good to be there, even though it is not. But I'll say that. But what it is I'll let you know. Again, I shouldn't be telling you this, but it's a verbal placeholder to indicate that I don't know what I'm going to say next, because I wind up, I just talk. At least I do on here. You know what? I say that I do that on stage. That's incorrect. I have an act, or at least I've had one for years. I always did stand up, and I did regular stand up with jokes. But then every once in a while at a late show or something, I would wing it and have a lot more fun and go, hey, this is great. But when I would be working on the road with my friend Jimmy, that was his deal. I mean, that's how Jimmy works and how Jimmy does his act, and I never wanted to do that in front of him because it was stupid. Then you're looking at two guys doing kind of the same thing. And also, I'm not as good as Jimmy at it. I mean, that's the thing, is I would do it, and then it would be like this pale comparison of a guy who's just fucking crushing it out of the park night after night. So when I'd be working with him, I would just wind up going ahead and doing my act. Which is fine because that's what I would do is with my act. I love writing jokes, but that's the problem is I got into a situation. It was a situation, folks. It was very important. I got into a situation. No, here's what I was doing. Another thing, in the chapters of regret I have in my career as a comic, I was writing bits and jokes, and I was more concerned with people going, ooh, than laughing. Like I would write a joke that was a sharp, mean joke. Real cutting, and that's what I was going for. Almost like I was saying, "Hey, everybody, look how smart I am, and look at the way I can turn a phrase." Instead of realizing, "Hey, you know what, dude? You're supposed to be funny up here. This is ridiculous." So, it's the 10:30 show on a Friday. Nobody wants to hear you cleverly twisting in and out of phrases. They want you to be fucking funny as they guzzle buckets of beer and stare at you with their baseball hats out at you. It's funny when Mike Toomey and I one time were out. We were working in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, at Penguins, and it was Christmas. Hold on, do you hear that? Did you guys? There's an iPhone on somewhere. Is there an iPhone on? Because in my headset, I've done podcasts before where people have had an iPhone on, and see, it's on. Can we turn it off? That would be good. All right, I'm gonna wait, Mo, while you turn that off. It's my friend Lily, ladies and gentlemen. She's she's sitting on two pillows. Look at that. She's got the cushiest ass in the business.
It's off.
Fantastic. Well, don't worry. They'll know it's off because that annoying fucking chirping noise is gone. So then they'll be like, oh, good. I'm glad that it's because it sounds like you've got you know what it sounds like? You ever see when they pin a moth and it flits around until it dies when they've got it pinned to a corkboard?
No.
Oh, trust me, it happens. And, yeah, I guess they do it when they're dead, huh? They wouldn't do it. Yeah, this says a lot more about me than I care to at this point. Remember when you would pin flies when they were alive and you would pin them to the wall and watch them flit around until they died? Yeah, that's the noise that just made. That's awful. I never did that. I come on, my fat hands. You think I could catch a fly and nimbly poke it to a wall with a pin? No. That was I talking about. So I'm at Penguins, and it was Christmas, and Mike Toomey and I were making up Christmas carols. We were singing songs, and you know what? Also, I may be telling this incorrectly, and then Mike Toomey, who has a memory, he has a photographic memory. I'm convinced. And I think Mike will call me and tell me that I'm telling this wrong, but this is my recollection of it. We were there one night, and it was Christmas time, and there were these guys, like these frat guys with baseball hats, buying buckets of Bud, because that's what they sell, buckets of Bud, and we were making up Christmas carols, and I looked at Mike and I went, "Oh, anybody who drinks Bud doesn't like me." That was my contribution, and it became legend. That was it for Mike. Mike and I. Every time we go to a club, we would be like, "Oh, anybody who drinks Bud doesn't like me," because we would anticipate just this death set of going up and trying to be funny in a basement in Iowa for all these people who are still brushing corn dust off their clothes. And they're wonderful people. They're fantastic, salt of the earth, wonderful people. But some nights he would go and it was just like pulling teeth. And when I say that, I mean it was literally pulling teeth, because I would have to reach into their hands and pull teeth to get away from them, the howling crowd that wanted to beat me up at Penguins and bury me in a field somewhere where nobody would find me, and I would fertilize the crops, and then Stephen King would write a short story about me. My friend Lily, here's a call I got yesterday from my friend Lily and her husband, because they have a friend in town, and they're like, this is the message on my machine. "Hey, Mike, we're calling because we wanted to see what you're doing. We're going to go see Swing Vote, the Kevin Costner movie, at 6 o'clock, but before that, we're going to go for a dinner at 5 o'clock at a Chinese place. So if you want to drop by or come with us, that'd be great." What they failed to put on there was, "Hey, Mike, by the way, if you'd like to drive your car off a cliff, that might be preferable to this evening we have scheduled. So if you would rather go ahead and do that, by all means, go ahead." Really? Dinner at 5 and then Kevin Costner. Oh my Christ! That sounds like you talk about pulling teeth. That is the entertainment equivalent of having dental work done. I can't even imagine going to do it. I was disappointed in the phone call. Like, I almost wanted to come just to chastise them. I wanted to meet them at the restaurant and go and order food and then throw it on the floor and go, "Right there, that's what I think of this night." Really? You're going to spend money to go see Swing Vote? Holy God. Swing Vote, actually, when we went and saw The Who a couple weeks ago, I surprised Karen with the tickets for The Who. She had no idea we were going. I told her we were going to a screening of Swing Vote. Swing Vote was my alibi. That's how little I think of that film. I told her, because she even said, I said to her, I go, "Hey, I got tickets. It's a free screening of Swing Vote." And Karen was like, "Swing Vote?" I go, "Yeah, but it's free, and we see everything in the summer. Why not?" And it was enough to talk her into the car to go to Westwood to see the screening of it. But then these guys, they're actually paying and going and calling me as if I would be interested. Oh my God, no! If you called Kevin Costner and said, "Hey, you want to go see Swing Vote?" He'd go, "Fuck no! Are you kidding me? I've given more than enough time of my life to that goddamn project. I'm not interested in seeing one strip of celluloid from it." Dinner at 5 and then Kevin Costner. Yeah, hold on. First of all, I'm going to take some Metamucil and put on an adult diaper before I come out for that night of fun. That sounds like what an 85-year-old woman would consider a huge night on the town. We're going to have dinner at 5, maybe 4:30. Oh my God, maybe we get there a little early. Want to beat the rush. Go there and we'll have some of that Chinese food. Oh, those people, they make some exciting food. They use rice in so many different ways. And then we're going to go see that Kevin Costner movie. Oh, it's going to be fantastic. I love him in that Wolf movie. He's so good. Wow, did that sound like anti-fun? It reminds one time we did that when I was in high school, or no, just after high school. I think it was the year after. Or no, it might have been, yeah, it was the year after. We had an anti-fun night because all of our friends went to a concert that we could not go to. It was me and my friend Pete Yogano, who you may know from another story where he flexed a muscle in somebody's face at a toga party. And then my buddy Dave Wojcik, who is, have you fucked her in the mouth yet? Dave Wojcik. And the three of us could not go. Was it Billy? No, we went and saw Billy Squire and Def Leppard. I'm trying to remember who it was. I forget who the concert was, but we could not attend. And so the three of us, all of our friends were there. All of our friends had gone, and we were like, "Well, what the fuck are we gonna do? We got nothing to do." And that's us though. We were nothing without our friends. We're like, "What the hell are we gonna do with ourselves?" So we decided we were gonna have an anti-fun night. Okay, so here's what we did. We went this is so stupid, but I don't care. We went and bought warm beer. We bought Schmidt's beer. We bought Schmidt's beer from a Walgreens. And we drank warm beer. And I don't drink. That's part of my anti-fun night. We refused to drink cold beer or have a good time. So this is like at 7:30 at night. We went out and we got warm beer, and we each drank 2 warm beers. And you chugged them, so you got that nasty feeling in your stomach. And we each drank 6 of the 12. We drink 2 of the 12. So we drank 6. We still had 6 left. And then we went and saw Supergirl, the movie Supergirl. But the movie started at 8, and we paid to see it at 8:45. And the guy's like, it already started at 8. We go, we don't care. And he's like, well, all right. And we go, and we're paying full price. He said, okay. So we paid full price to go into a movie that was 45 minutes old with bellies full of warm beer. And then we bought Necco wafers. Like the most disgusting candy you could ever imagine. It's literally like formed dust discs with a little splash of flavor inside. I mean, they're just like horrible. And we each ate a package of Necco wafers with warm beer in our stomach and watched Supergirl, and then chugged the rest of the beer in the theater, and then got out of the movie at like 9:30 and went home. We did that on purpose. That was the anti-fun night because we were so pissed we didn't get to the concert. We said, fuck it. And we went to bed. We made ourselves go to... I went to bed at like 10:15 on a Saturday night. And that was it. That was the anti-fun night. So that's what last night sounded like to me. Last night sounded like the actual adult equivalent of anti-fun night. Go out for a Chinese food dinner at 5 and then go see Kevin Costner at 6. And then put a bullet in your fucking brain at 8:30. You know what? Better yet, put the bullet in your brain at 4:30 and scotch the whole night, because I'm telling you, putting a hot lead injection into your cerebral cortex sounds a lot more fun than sitting through Swing Vote. Jesus God. Any movie with Kelsey Grammer just stabbed me in the heart. I don't mind Costner. I mean, now Costner's a little creepy. That story of him out on his honeymoon trying to get a hand job, that's a creepy-ass story. You ever see that online? No? You never saw it? He was on there was a blind item in like a New York paper or a magazine, and it was some masseur. Oh, no, not masseur. That would be a dude. It was a masseuse, and some Hollywood star was out at a honeymoon and tried to convince her to rub one out for him. And she said he was real creepy about it and all this, and then finally it came out that it was Costner. Like, it came out after a while. Yeah, Google Costner and hand job. I'm sure it'll come up. And actually, that sounds like a lot more fun than what last night would have been. I would have rather been sitting in the room watching Costner negotiate for a hand job with a chick at a spa than have to sit through Swing Vote. Because, Jesus, God, does that sound horrible. Really, the election comes down to one guy, and it's this, oh, look who it is. It's good-looking, aw shucks, Kevin Costner with and shave. Kevin, could you shave for us, please? What is with the 9-day growth of beard that refuses to go away? Good Christ. You know what? His career is going to come full circle. Like he was cut out of the Big Chill, and it was just his hands in the coffin. And now he's making movies, and now he's kind of dropping off, and eventually he's just going to be hands in a coffin again. In a film called Hands in a Coffin. So just to ensure that he's still the star, he wants to make sure he's still, because that's the thing. He put up $20 million of his own money for Swing Vote. I read that, and I literally, I want to hunt him. And I met him. I was working, when I was writing on Funniest Pets and People, this is like 2 years ago, it was in a building, and he had his offices in that building, and he showed up one day. And again, as much as I'm running him down here, you see him in the hallway, and you're like, holy God, how good looking is that guy in person? Because they all have that. That's the thing, is these movie stars that you see them, and you're just like, whoa, holy Christ. Karen saw Dennis Quaid in an elevator one time, and she said she couldn't believe, because they're magnetic. There's a reason these people are stars. It's because they're magnetic. There's a reason some people are stars, and there's a reason some people send you their disembodied voice via the internet for free as they talk into a headset in a kitchen. There's a reason. There's a demarcation line for people. Some people are stars for a reason. Some people are talking about those stars in a negative way. So just look at me as I'm the internet's TMZ. Although I guess TMZ would be the internet's TMZ, really, when you think about it. I'm an idiot. But yeah, so that's so I met Costner. I didn't meet him. Usually I approach people, but this time I couldn't because I was working. So that's all I figured was I'd go up to him and I'd be like, "Hey, I enjoyed Field of Dreams. You're fired." Like, it was like I didn't even want to approach him. But I saw him in the hallway, and I got locked into his tractor beam by his eyes and was like, oh, my God, let's have sex. It was like that weird. Like, he was that good looking and had that vibe happening. So, which makes me wonder how the masseuse turned down the hand job. How do you turn that down? That's Costner. You know what? This whole thing broke bad. I'm doing a 180. I'm coming back around. I'm on Costner's side. Give the man a hand job. For God's sake. The man made Dances with Wolves. Grab a handful of scrot and go to work. I don't know how could you even have attitude with this guy? This guy's the man. Ugh. Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams, for God's sakes. You don't want to make a pool on that guy's chest for him? Do it. Terrible. And be careful if you shoot upwards with the hand job, because you're hoping chest. But if you shoot long, then it's a situation you don't want to discuss. And I don't want to tell that story. That's a story I don't think I could tell. Should I tell it? I can't tell that story.
Tell it.
I can't. Just be careful, folks. That's what I'm telling you. Be careful with your aim. So, all right, I have to tell this story. I'm going to tell it. I didn't want to, but it came up. It's organic, folks. I've made a rule that if something comes up and it looks like it's organic and it fits together and it kills time, I'm going to tell it. So, when I first moved to California, this is in the early 90s. Actually, I moved in 86, and then I moved to Tahoe, but then when I came back here to do comedy, it was in the early 90s. And I wound up hanging out with some guys in Orange County, and we would do comedy, and then we'd go out, and, I was a young man, and I was, till 24 at the time, I think. So I wound up in a bar in Anaheim, California, called the Foxfire. And the Foxfire was it was a meat market, but it was for older people. So it was like a lot of 35 and older, that kind of crowd. So 24-year-old Mike wanders in there, and everybody's like, "Whoa, who's the young hot guy?" Nobody says that, but still, I'm young for the clientele, because it's very much a like I said, 35, whatever. So some woman and I wind up hitting it off. So we hit it off at the bar, and I'm with a bunch of comics. I'm with like 4 other comedians. So me and this woman, Jeannie, wind up hitting it off. And, she's an older lady. She's probably like 38, and I'm 24, and I never had a problem with that. I was a fan of that, quite frankly. And when I was in Tahoe, I actually I was with a 50-year-old woman one time, and she was great. So anyway, who cares? No one cares. So we go on to we wind up on the dance floor, and things are happening. And my black jeans are getting a workout, folks. That's right, I'm wearing black jeans. I'm 24, wearing my black jeans and looking sharp. And white tennis shoes. I call them tennis shoes now because I'm a grandfather, apparently. White gym shoes, tennis shoes. Nobody calls them that. So whatever. Jeannie and I are, she's backing that shit up, and we're doing there's a lot of rubbing and a lot of grabbing, and it's a lot of closeness on the dance floor. And she grabs my hand and takes me outside. So I'm like, all right. So I'm with other guys, though, so I'm hoping they, don't split on me. So we wind up in the car, Jeannie and I, and we're going to work in her car, and, I'm in the passenger seat. She's in the front seat. And eventually, some things are taken out of the black jeans. They come up for air. Not my idea. Jeannie's idea. Jeannie's like, hey, how about if we take him out for a little while? I said, all right, fine, if that's what you want to do. He wasn't planning on it, but if you don't mind it, I'm sure he'd be happy to come out and say hello. So he does. And so we're doing that weird high school thing of where you're making out, and then there's kind of like, there might be a little, hand action, and there's making out, and then there's this, and, nothing else is happening. So then finally Jeannie makes the move to go downtown. And I'm like, all right, well, this is going to be fine. And I don't have a condom, but I'm also 24, so I really couldn't care less at this point. Nothing matters to me. And she's got a small car, so I don't know if she's looking to get worked in her car or how we're going to do this. So she just basically decides she's going to go down on me, and I'm like, I'm all for it. So she does. And that's happening. We're in a parking lot, and people are walking by the car, and I don't care because I think we all pretty much know that I'm into that. So I'm all for it. And it's just literally like there's nothing better than when someone's got their head in your lap and it's moving up and down, and someone makes eye contact with you and you're like, hi, how are you? Nice to see you. You know what? We are probably not leaving, so we're going to keep this parking spot, but you can just keep moving if you wanted. Of course, if you wanted to sit down and watch, that'd be fine. I have no popcorn for you, but and it's not like because this is happening to me, you can cut in. This isn't like a dance in the 20s. I don't know why people think like, is that what a guy thinks when he sees a guy getting a blowjob? He's like, oh, I got to stick around and watch this. Why? Do you think you're next? You got to think that at some point she and I have some sort of connection. That's why this is happening. It's not like she was just in the, it's not like she set up a lemonade stand for blowjobs. That wasn't happening. The doctor is in. It's like, yeah, she's like Lucy Van Pelt. And she's giving out like psychiatric advice for a nickel, and then you're going to plop your cock out and get worked? That's not going to happen, friend. I've pretty much taken down this action. You have to go find your own. I don't understand the stopping and looking. I mean, curiosity I understand because I'm all about that. But to stand there for any length of time is just like, again, I'm not in line. I wasn't the first guy in line, and then she worked me, and then she's going on to the others. We're in the car for a reason. The windows are up. So she's doing that, and then she comes up for air, and we wind up, making out, and then she's got a handful, and we're going to work, and we're out there for probably an hour, okay, going back and forth. And to the point where, as a guy, I think some of you will understand that an hour of, getting right up to the precipice and then backing off, I think it's called edging in the business, doing that for an hour, well, you really don't know what's going to happen at this point. Imagine if you had a tea kettle and you had it on the fire and it was whistling. It was crazy whistling. And then you took it off the fire. Then you put it back on the fire and it started crazy whistling. And then you took it off the fire. And you put it back on. Well, a lot of that is turning to steam and evaporating. I can tell you that with a guy, it's not. Although if steam shot out of my cock, I would be all for it. I think that would be fantastic. I would hope nobody was around to get hurt. But anyway, so I'm there, and so she's got this handful, and she's doing this, and then she goes down on me, and we're making out, and then she's doing this. And then finally she comes up, and I go, look. I go, I don't say look, because I'm not a lawyer. But I say to her, I go, hey, we're pretty close here, so you got to watch it. And she's like, all right, that's fine. So because I like to give a warning, folks. I'm going to tell you who I am as a guy. I don't have a condom on, see? So I know that something's going to happen, and I want to make sure she's prepared for it, okay? Because I'm not the kind of guy to just spring a surprise on somebody. I'm excited and happy to be in this position. The last thing I want to do is fuck it up by being uncouth. So I'm like, I want to make sure that she knows what's going to happen. So I tell her, I go, look, I'm going to let you know, and as long as you're on board with that, I'm on board with that, and we all know what's going to happen because we all know about anatomy because we all took biology class in high school. And she's like, yes, I'm aware of that. I said, good. And then I brought out 3 pieces of paper. I made her sign them in double and triplicate, and then so to make sure that she was aware of what was going to happen, I don't want to be sued because somebody lost an eye. So she winds up going back down on me, and this is it. We're ready to go. The drawbridge is up. The ship is about to sail, and finally I tap her on the head, and she pulls out. And she pulls, my friend is out of her, and he's there, and I say, hold up, and she is looking up at me, and she jerks me off. Now, hold up in that situation means fucking hold up, like don't move. We're close, I'm close, everybody's close, the guy outside the car door is close, people in the bar are close, everything is on point. Don't move. She looks up at me and gives a little wink, 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 like a little boom, boom, and I go off like a fucking garden hose with a hole in it. And she, which is fine because that's physiology. That's what's supposed to happen. Unfortunately, she doesn't, I'm out. All right, I'm exposed. She jerks me off and I shoot. She's pointing upwards. I come in my own hair, folks. It's all over the place. It was horrible. Just because I'm laying there. And she, because, again, this is disgusting for you folks, and I apologize, but it was crazy. It was like, do you ever see the movie Scary Movie, where the virgin gets laid, and finally he plasters a woman to the ceiling? That's what it was like. It was like I was frosting a cake. I went off, because, again, picture, because we'd been dancing in the bar, and everything was going crazy in there, and then we're in the car for an hour, and I had built up like a ridiculous tanker truck of nonsense and wound up all over me, because you can't stop it, and it's like and you just lay there I'm just like yeah, this is happening as I become a human candle. It was just like awful. I am just and. Just got crazy bukkake by myself. That's the thing. Not even expecting it, and just got crazily off. It was terrible. It was as if someone was making a wax mask of me. And at the time, I was rocking like a crazy long curly mullet. So it's in my hair. It was yeah. It looks like I had done a cannonball into a swimming pool full of cake frosting. So I'm laying there. She's looking at me. And after about 7 minutes, when it stops, She's like, oh, sorry. And I wanted to say that's okay, but my mouth had welded shut. And I'm like literally I just go, no problem. You got a towel or a shower or an ocean I could dive in and get cleaned up? Because I got to be honest, I'm never going to be clean again the rest of my life. But I'd really like to at least make the effort. If there's a way that I could go ahead and just scrub my skin to the bone, I'd really be on board with that. I mean, if there's any way we could get the Silkwood people in here to just strip me down and get like 9 guys in hazmat suits and prickly brushes to just scrape me down to bare muscle and bone, that would be great. I would appreciate it because I got no interest in being sticky for that much longer. Is there anything we could do? Tell you what, you got a blow dryer? Plug that into the car lighter and just blow dry me till I'm a statue. Just go ahead and harden this and then have some experts chip me out of it in about 1,000 years so I could tell them the tale of when this happened and what life was like in the early 90s for a man of my age. Because I really think that historians need to take down this moment. Just do anything you can, really. Just, yeah. So, we look through her car. Now, this is a woman. A woman's car. I've been in women's cars. My wife has a pillow in her car, for God's sakes. I mean, you know, they got stuff in their car that, like, will help you out in certain situations. It's like a woman's car is like a Swiss Army car. Like, you could be going, hey, do you guys have any butter? Yeah, it's right here in the glove compartment. There's some butter. What do you need it for? Toast? Because I got a toaster right in the back. It's in the trunk, and I've jimmy rigged it so where you can plug it right into the tire, and as the tire spins, it powers the toaster. So go ahead and take care of that. What are you looking for? A dog? I got a dog in the back seat there. You need a dog to go ahead and dispose of some of the scraps of the meal that I just prepared under the hood because I have a George Foreman grill where my converter should be? By all means. I mean, women's cars are outfitted for this kind of shit. And we look around her car, and I think we found a postage stamp. I think that's basically... No, actually, we found one piece of Kleenex. One. Who has one piece of Kleenex? Who says, you know what? Big night in the town. I better go ahead and grab a square of Kleenex. Things might get crazy. And, you know, and that's not, you know, I'll take that one piece of Kleenex and ruin it. But I mean, my shirt is soaked. Literally, I'm not kidding. My shirt is soaked. Face, everything. I mean, it's bad. I mean, I you know, watch the Olympics and see somebody get out of the pool after diving. That's what I look like. But saltier. So I use this piece of Kleenex and I push around everything that I can push around and do whatever I can. And now I got to go back into the bar where my friends are. As I have my Cameron Diaz mullet slicked back into the air, looking like I look like fucking Don King. That's how much. I mean, it's like just straight up in the air. It's just and the shiniest face. I look like it's whatever. So I go inside and she's nice and I get her phone number, if only for the dry cleaning that she's no doubt going to be responsible for. And I walk inside in my black jeans and my shirt and it's dark, man. We're in a nightclub, so everything's okay. And I meet up with Ron and Kelly and the other comics, and they're like, "Hey, where'd you go to?" And I got a little lucky. All right, fantastic. Hey, let's go for some late night Denny's. Let me tell you something, folks. The harsh fluorescent light of Denny's picks up everything. Because then we go into Denny's and the guys are like, "What happened, man?" I'm like, "Oh, we went out to the car with the girl." And then the guys are like, "Well, what happened? Like, what happened to your shirt?" And I look down and it looks like a map of South America on my shirt. I mean, it is just this crazy, huge stain, but just like not a stain like horrible white, like not a stain like you would think, but just, you know, it's an outline of like moisture. It's just, I can't even describe it. And I look down and I'm like, look, it looks like I came the Bat logo on my chest. That's what it looks like. Like this crazy huge, and I say to him, I go, oh, well, we were in the car, and they're just like, what happened? And finally I go, all right, you guys, if you want to hear this story, I'll tell it, but I don't think you want to hear it because I think this table is going to be covered in regurgitated Grand Slam breakfasts. And they're like, oh, now you got to fucking tell us. And so they are privy to the story that you just had to sit through. And they were like, it was so funny. They're trying to bust my balls. But how do you bust the balls from a guy who got an hour-long blowjob? I mean, I still win. I still win in this story, no matter what I'm wearing or what I look like or what I smell like or whatever the hell I got to do. No matter how quickly I have to burn this shirt, I still win in this fucking story. All right? So I can sit there and you guys can regale me with tales and blast me and hammer me about how disgusting it is and how funny it is. And I'm still going to choke down my super bird and laugh in your face because I just got hummed for an hour. So there you go. That's the story we got to it organically. Blame yourselves. Blame yourselves, folks, because you're the ones who make me do this. Yeah, that wasn't on my list of stories. I came in today with notes, actual notes, and Lily's like, you have notes today? And I go, I have nothing to talk about. I said, and that's the problem. When you have nothing to talk about, you inevitably wind up telling that fucking story and ruining everybody's day. Oh, boy. So, yeah, that's that. But I got her number, and I did call her. And you know what? You know what's funny? Because she was great. She liked me, obviously. I'd hate to think she didn't like me. What would she do if she liked me? That would be crazy. We're talking 2 hours at that point. And well, actually, if she did like me, she would have just pointed me in a different direction, so I didn't wind up fucking cracking her back window. Man, and it's so funny. Every guy will say, that every guy is concerned with that, or they're proud of it. Like when it's like a really long one, when you're just like, oh, dude. When you throw a serious rope, you're just like, oh, dude, awesome. Even though it means nothing, it doesn't mean anything to anybody. What is it? But it's part of the guy's fascination with guns and their cock and everything else. It's just like, dude, I cleared the bed. Yes, you cleared the bed. You're quite a man. But I got to tell you, I was like, part of me, even though I was sitting there covered in it, I was like, the fact that it was in the back seat and stuff, I was like, this is awesome. Yeah. All right, never mind. That's disgusting. So, you know what? Forget it. Folks, rewind this whole story and erase it. I'm so sorry that it even came up. So, but then I actually called Jeannie again, and because she and I, apparently we have to have awkward sex. She and I had to do that. The next time, because I was living with a buddy of mine at the time. I was living with my buddy Dennis, and I slept on the floor. Like, that's where I slept. So I called her up, and she came over. And came upstairs, and we just had sex on the floor. Like, there wasn't even like a dinner. There wasn't like anything. That was her deal. Like, she was like, that's what she wanted from me, I suppose. And didn't care where she was getting it. And didn't care about my 2 roommates that were in the living room watching Moonlighting. She just said, you know what? Let's go to work. And I have to admit, like, it was a weird thing for me where I was kind of like, oh, this isn't good. Like, and if you're a guy, because normally I don't care. I'll fuck anybody anywhere. I mean, that's kind of your attitude. But even I was just kind of like, wow, Mike and Dennis are in the living room. And these are different Mikes and Dennises. Apparently in my life, I have only friends named Mike and Dennis. So these are different Mike and Dennis. This is Dennis Eggs, who I talked about, actually. Dennis Engenberg, who I talked about before. So... so Jeannie came over and we had awkward sex on the floor for a couple hours, and it was that kind of, it was sports sex. That's all it was. It was that sport fucking where you're just like, well, let's see how many times we can do this in the time allotted. You know what I mean? Like let's. It was like speed chess, where you hit the clock. Like, we would fuck and I'd hit the clock, and then she'd fuck and she'd hit the clock, and you're just trying to see how much you can get done in a certain amount of time. So yeah, that was fun. But that was a while ago, folks. That was almost 4 months ago. And I got to tell you, oh, that might be her. She's calling over here. Hey, you know what? Do me a favor. Don't tell that story. Actually, what if she's calling because she left an earring in my apartment? She's like, hey, you know what? This is weird. I may have left an earring in your, what is that? That's 91? Yeah, we're looking at... That's 17 years ago, but man, did I like those earrings. And I've been trying to find you for so long. Luckily, I was able to track you down at your producer's house from your free podcast that I saw. I happened to see you in the What's Hot section of iTunes, and I immediately remembered you. You look different without a wet face. Terrible. So, so we did. I did see her again after that, folks. God, I didn't want that to be the last impression she had of me. That I had somehow just ruined her car and then just never called her again. Although again, it was her fault, quite frankly. Because if we say don't, if I say hold up, that means hold up. That means not even a flick of the wrist because everything's going to come down. All right, little lesson for you ladies out there. If your man puts the brakes on you, it's for a reason. He knows. Let's not turn into a guessing game. So I haven't been getting much sleep, folks. That could explain a lot, actually. I've been filling in. My buddy has a graveyard gig, and it's a gig that's been passed around to from comedian, like all the Chicago comedians have done it, like at one time or another. Not all of them, not the successful ones, but ones like myself will go ahead and take it onto their. It's a graveyard thing. All it is they have an apartment building, and you essentially sit in the apartment building and you make sure nothing happens all night. And you bring your laptop and you hang out, and that's it. That's all you do. And my life is. I had just kind of turned it around where I wasn't a graveyard guy, but now I'm getting back into, unfortunately, being that guy where I'm up all night and then sleeping. I hate sleeping all day, but I love being up all night. It's a weird thing to try to balance. So it's like I love staying up until 6 o'clock in the morning, but then I want to be up by 10. But then, and I can do that, but then I'm a fucking zombie. And then you would think it would even out, like where I'd be tired. But then for some reason, I get a second wind, and I'm always able to stay up super late and do this grave thing. I've worked graveyard jobs my whole life. I worked at 7-Eleven doing a graveyard. Oh, you know what? I'll tell you this real fast. Working at the graveyard thing for this thing that I just did recently, I had an incident that really kind of showed me who I am as a person, unfortunately. And it wasn't good, folks. It was not good. You're sitting in an office, and people will walk in, and you have to say hello to them, and you're nice, and you're there in case anything happens in the middle of the night. Like I've been there, and I had a call from an old woman one time, and she's like, "There's something in my house," and I don't know what that means. I know it doesn't sound good, but she's like, "Can you come upstairs?" And I'm like, "Yes." And so then she opens her door and she's like, "Please come in." And she was probably like 65, 70. And she lets me in her house, and she is in a bra and panties. And I'm like, and again, it's not sexual in any way. She's just old and scared. You know what I mean? So she wants somebody to come in her house and find out what's happening. And so she's like, "Come on in. Oh my God, I heard a sound and I don't know what it is." And I'm like, "Well, what kind of sound?" And I'm weirded out. I'm like arm's length away because I'm not kidding you, she's in a bra and panties. And it's like everything is hanging and swinging. And, she's an older lady with her glasses on. And again, I might have mentioned that I worked a 50-year-old earlier, but 65 is getting way out of bounds. That's not, but it doesn't matter because you're in a room with a woman in bra and panties, and I'm not thinking anything sexually, but I'm thinking, why am I here? All this woman has to do is fall to the ground and yell, "Oh my God!" And then everybody runs in and sees this huge hulking man standing over a woman holding her abdomen. And they're just like, "What the hell? What are you doing here?" So I don't even want to be in the house when she opens the door, and but she's like, "Come in." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." And I kind of wander in, and I'm staying as far away from her as I possibly can. I don't even want to brush up against her because if she somehow dies of a heart attack, I don't want the fibers from my shirt on her because then, again, Richard Belzer and Ice-T are asking me questions for 5 hours. I don't want anything to do with it. So I don't want my DNA anywhere in this house. But I still got to come in and look around, and she's like, "It's in the bedroom." And that makes me go, all right, it's in the bedroom. Is this like an elaborate plan of hers to get laid? Like, Is she so old and so desperate and so now without game that's her deal? Like she calls the security guard and tries to get, because you always, then of course you're in your brain, you're thinking of the stories of the mailman who gets laid or the milkman or the postman or anybody else who has man in their title, Batman when he would get laid. And I'm the security man. And this woman is in a bra and panties, and not even, and I mean, she's a grandmother. Again, she's old, and like her house smells like licorice and soap. Like it's like there's nothing at all that makes a hard-on show up. I mean, it's not even. And I walk in, it's that old lady smell, and there's pictures of grandkids, and there's hard candy in a bowl, and there's framed photos and slip covers, and just I don't want anything to do with it. But I'm the security guy, so I got to walk in. She's like, "Come back in the bedroom." Oh no. So I go in the bedroom, and it's one of those special beds that's like up on a frame. Like it's not a regular bed. It's up a little higher, and it's like a Craftmatic, so it kind of adjusts. It's got rails. You know, it's that kind of bed. It's a bed with metal rails. So I'm like, oh, this is. And then of course you allow yourself. You're like, well, if I got to work this chick in this bed, you know, that's gonna. No, don't even think that. That's fucking horrible. She doesn't want that. Then I'm like, well, wait, am I gonna have to hold on to the rails? Oh my God, shut up. That's not gonna happen. Stop. But then she brings me in her room, and I heard the noise. It's like it was like a Scooby-Doo episode. Then it was just the scraping, like I can't even do it. But and it turned out what it was there was a branch on the roof, like scraping, and she was on the third floor, and she could hear it, and that was what was freaking her out. And I mean, and then it got sad. Then it was like she seemed really small to me at that point. Like, and then I was like, oh, this is an old woman who's just scared, and like so scared that she didn't care that she was in her underwear with a stranger. Like that's how frightened she was. And then I'm ashamed of myself because I'm thinking, what? Am I getting seduced here, Mrs. Robinson? What's happening? No, she's scared out of her fucking mind, Casanova. Put your cock away. What are you thinking? Idiot. But again, as a man, that's where your brain goes. If you're in a room with somebody with a bra and panties on, you think, and it just, even if for a glimmer, even for a flash, you go, am I getting laid here? What's happening? Even if it's someone you're not interested in, even if it's a drag queen, for Christ's sake, part of your mind just goes, hey, are we going to have sex? What's going to happen here? You know, even in the house that stunk of liniment with rails on the beds and just, you know, old lady food in the other room and cats. And I mean, like, even there, your brain goes to, hey, am I going to get worked here? How's this going to work? Am I going to bust somebody's hip? No, you're not going to bang the bottom out of that, okay? She's 65. She's not interested in sex anymore. She's interested in staying alive, and that's why you're here to help her out, idiot. Why would you even go there with your brain? But you do. At least I do. So I go up and I'm like, oh, I'll go on the roof, and I was able to take the branch down, and then felt terrible about feeling that way. Like I said, she just wanted to stay alive. That's her whole concern. She wanted to make sure nobody was breaking in and murdering her. And Goofy McFucknose from downstairs had to come upstairs and think he was going to get laid. Idiot. But I didn't want to. It's just your brain thinks that. Terrible. But the other day, this happened. I'm in the office. And an old man comes downstairs with like with his family, obviously his son and grandchildren. It's about 11 o'clock. It was actually like, I'll tell you exactly when it was. It was 10:55 p.m. And then they walk outside, and then I'm in the office, and then The Simpsons comes on at 11 in California at 11 o'clock p.m. There's a TV in the office, and it's just a regular television. It's not cable. It's not satellite. So literally you get 9 channels. It's the old days. And so luckily one of them is Fox, and The Simpsons comes on at 11 o'clock. And when you do this gig, when you're in an office, if the internet doesn't catch, like if you don't get the Wi-Fi, you're sitting in an office with an old television. I mean, it's like you've been transported to the 30s. You know what I mean? That's where you're at. So you definitely memorize the schedule. You're like, all right, 11 o'clock is The Simpsons, 11:30 is South Park, 12 o'clock I flip channels, and I'll get to watch every infomercial on the planet. So actually, 12 o'clock is Law and Order, Criminal Intent, and then 1 o'clock, 1 o'clock you look at the Byron Allen comedian show and realize how bad it is, and then you turn the channel. So The Simpsons comes on, and it's my favorite Simpsons episode of all time. My favorite Simpsons episode is the one when Homer becomes a restaurant critic for the Springfield Shopper. I think it is the best episode because it has nothing but jokes. It is a joke machine. Al Jean wrote it. Al Jean is now an executive producer, but at the time he was one of the writers. And I want to meet him just to thank him for this episode because it is the funniest episode of all time. It's my favorite episode, and it has my favorite Simpsons line of all time. Homer is a bad restaurant critic, and he's being mean to all of the restaurants in town. So all the restaurant guys get together and decide they're going to kill him. And a French chef says, I've got just the thing, and he holds up a dessert. It's an eclair. And one of the restaurant owners just goes, "You're going to kill this man. Get serious. You're going to kill this man with a dessert? I've seen this man eat a bowl of change." It is my favorite line in Simpsons history because you could have said pennies, you could have said quarters, you could have said I've seen this man eat money, anything, but a bowl of change is like the most perfect turn of a phrase because you actually think Homer could have done it. Like on his way out the door, he ate a bowl of change. Who eats change? It's the stupidest, craziest line, but that makes sense. It is a simple joke. And just the fact that the guy would cast aspersions on their plan. You're going to kill this guy with a dessert? I've seen this guy eat a bowl of change. It's my favorite line, favorite delivery. Love it. So the show starts, and in my head I go, this is great. I have a half hour of my favorite Simpsons because you're struggling for anything in that office. Literally, you get there at 10 and you're there till 6 in the morning. By 11, you're ready to hang yourself because if you don't have Wi-Fi, I bring 1,000 books and I bring and I wind up inevitably bored, so I eat stuff like I'm eating stuff I shouldn't even eat. like lead paint chips. I mean, I'm like hoping something bad happens. I'm just trying to stay with it. So I get there and the Simpsons thing starts and it's my favorite and I'm like, great, this is perfect. All of a sudden the old man who had walked out with his family walks back in and he walks into the office and he's like, "Hello, how are you, sir?" And I'm like, "I'm fine." And "Who are you? Why are you talking to me? The Simpsons are on, don't you see?" He proceeds to start talking about his, that was my grandson, very proud of my grandson, and my great-grandson. And I'm doing an accent that's indiscriminate. But he has an accent that I can't place, but I sort of know where it's from. It's a European accent, okay? And I can't do that, so brace yourselves. I'm just going to do what I do. He's like, "Yes, he's a wonderful boy. He's his family. I'm so proud of him. And I've lived here a long time." And he starts regaling me with his life story. In the meantime, my favorite Simpsons is on the television, and I'm smiling and nodding the whole time, looking over, and I have to turn the volume down because I have to hear this old man. And in my head, I'm going, literally, it's like he's telling me this wonderful story about himself and his grandkids. And in my head, I'm going, "Shut up, old man. Shut up, old man. Shut up, old man." He's a nice guy. I'm sure he's a wonderful person. And then part of me in my head goes, "Hey, you ass. This is a man who's trying to share something with you. Show some respect for a person who's lived life." So I tune in to what he's saying, and he's telling me about, he's my grandson. He's wonderful, and I've lived here a long time. I've lived here 40 years, and it's been a long time. I lost my parents and my wife, and I was in the camps, and then things were terrible, and Polish were worse than Germans for Jews. The guy's telling me about the Holocaust. Tells me he was in the camp. Rolls up his sleeve. He's got the tattoo on his arm. This is a man who survived the Holocaust, and I want him to shut up so I can watch a cartoon. That's who I am, folks. Even after he shows me the tattoo, even after he's telling me the story about, literally in my head, I'm just going, "All right, sir, this is all fantastic, but this is my favorite Simpsons of all time. I understand Hitler was a bad guy. You had it tough. But Jesus Christ, Al Jean wrote this one. It's a joke machine, sir. Look, it's the part where Homer is writing he's asking the dog what the dog thinks about the restaurant, and he's writing that it was barky and chewy. Come on, sir, can't you put your life up on a shelf for just a little longer? Can you come back at midnight when Law & Order Criminal Intent is on? Because again, I don't care so much about that. Simpsons and South Park I want to watch. I tell you what, go back to your room, gather yourself, because from midnight on, I'll listen to this fucking story till 6 a.m. I got nothing to do but watch people try to sell me the sham wow, so I'm all for you coming through and telling me that story. But, sir, from 11 o'clock to 12, can you just cut me a little slack here? What a cock. In my brain, that's what I'm thinking. And he's telling me, he's like, "Oh, and in Poland, there was one night where they would kill the Jews. Like that was they would do this. They would chase them and kill them. And then I'm on a bus, and a woman is talking about how Jews are terrible. And I say, 'Oh, really? You're talking to a Jew.' And, that's the part where the music thing should go, dun, dun, dun. But in my head, I'm just going, oh, of course, there's the twist. You're on a bus, and you made a woman feel bad. It's The Simpsons, sir." And I know it's wrong. I knew it was bad, and so I listened to his story. I tuned it out, and I was a good soldier, which is probably not a good analogy to use in this point. But I turned the TV down and listened to his story, but then part of me, I'm still a smart ass, so like I want to make fun of myself even at that point, like to him. I want to go, sir, this is a fascinating story. I understand you survived the crystal knocked, and that's great, but it's The Simpsons. Honestly, is there a point to this story? You made it. Sir, you made it. Do you really need to rehash it? Of course he does, because he's lived life, jackass. He's not some fat 41-year-old dick who's got his laptop out hoping to get Wi-Fi so he doesn't have to sit through infomercials because he has made nothing of his life and has to work in a graveyard job his friend threw him. Jesus God, what is wrong with you? Terrible. So he just tells me the story. He's got the tattoo. He's talking about, and his stories were great. His stories were fantastic. He told me a story about, going to a pastry shop in downtown Los Angeles in like 1955, and it was a Polish woman behind the counter, and he takes her home and nails her, and then afterwards she starts talking bad about the Jews, and he's like, well, guess what? You got a little Jew inside you. Get dressed and get out. And he dropped that in her lap. Yeah, and I'm like, oh, this is awesome. These stories are great. Not as funny as The Simpsons. But still good stories. I just thought, what a prick I am, man. I just sat there and listened to his, and the whole time I'm going, sir, seriously, cartoon. There's a cartoon on. What a difference in generations. These people lived through and fought wars. I lived through nothing. My war was with my mom over yard work. These guys had to fight the Germans. I had to fight Larry Bagwell. Jesus Christ, I've done nothing. My life is a shell. All these people have lived these horrible experiences, and they're all the better for them. And I'm sitting on my fat ass talking in a kitchen. What is wrong with me? Everything's gone to hell. Jesus God. So that's me. I'm a guy who I'm not a Holocaust denier. I guess I was for half an hour. I was more or less just a Holocaust ignorer. That's who I was. Like, look, I don't want to hear this, friend. I know it's a fantastic story and all. And it's so funny because as I'm listening to it, I'm like, this guy, you could option this story for a movie. This guy's story, he escaped from Poland and his family and all these amazing things. And in my head, and that's even worse. Then I'm casting the film in my head. Then I'm listening. Everything boils down to that. I'm listening to his story. This is a man's life. He lived it. He went through these horrible experiences, and I'm boiling it down to, wonder if Jude Law could play that part. I think he probably could. Jude Law, and I see him bringing home the Polish lady, and that's great. And wow, who plays Jeannie? I think we'll get Melanie Griffith to play Jeannie. She was about the right age, but I don't know why the woman from my previous story is being cast into the Holocaust movie, but what the hell? So, yeah, that was me sitting at a desk ignoring the Holocaust for half an hour so I could pray to watch The Simpsons. What an idiot. But when you're watching, you become a slave to that television, man. In the middle of the night, I'm watching all these infomercials. I watched a commercial for something. It was an oven. I can't remember the name. Oh, it's the GT Express oven. It's an oven that uses like lasers. I don't know. I don't know where these technologies are invented. I love infomercials. I think anybody who knows me knows that I love infomercials. I particularly am fascinated with the Magic Bullet infomercial. And it's so funny. In the middle of the night here, I'll be flipping channels, like I said, at that graveyard thing, and I find the Magic Bullet, but then it's in Spanish. I will still watch it. I love the Magic Bullet so much, I watch it even in Spanish. Someone told me that there's a Magic Bullet sequel. Like they made a second Magic Bullet infomercial with the same people camping. And I find that difficult to believe. I don't know how you could get all of that talent back together in one spot. That's like the Blues Brothers putting the band back together. I can't picture that happening. I picture the Australian idiot and the blonde like going to find Berman and then Hazel, and they're maitre d's at Chez Paul, and they're eating bread with their hands, and they finally convinced them to come back online and do the Magic Bullet infomercial a second time. How do you recapture that magic? I don't know how it happens. God, I love the Magic Bullet infomercial. I love the fact that they make 1,000 things in a half hour and they act like you could do it at home. Yes, you could. If you owned 75 Magic Bullets. If you've somehow, and there's another new infomercial that I love. It's another, first of all, the laser, I got to get back to the laser oven. So they have the laser oven And with the laser oven, they're cooking food. This guy puts a frozen turkey in it, and he says, this will be cooked in 4 hours. You'll have like Thanksgiving dinner. And then they pull it out, and they cut it open. It's gray inside. It doesn't look like you cooked it. It looks like you just murdered it. Like it has this sick pallor, and they're just like, look how delicious it is. They keep yelling how delicious it is. Yes, because they want you to go, yes, look how delicious. That looks fantastic. My favorite part of the entire, they always do this. This is the money shot of any infomercial. They come up with something ridiculously impossible that you would never do in your home, but they somehow think that's what's going to sell you. It's like with the knife commercials when they saw the beer can in half, when they hack through a bone. Like who at home is like, man, I got to cut through a femur. Seriously, I need to get this knife because I desperately need to chop through some bones. They know their audience, boy. That's who's up at 3 a.m. Someone who needs a knife to cut through bone. So in this other commercial for the laser oven, they cryogenically freeze a roast. Like 3,000 degrees below zero, they do 2 of them. And they take one of them and put it in the laser oven. They take the other one and drop it off of a building and smash it to bits. Yet the laser oven is able to cook it deliciously. And it's like, who is that for? What astronaut has a cryogenically frozen roast at their house and desperately needs to cook it in 3 hours? And they always use these phrases where they say stuff like, boy, no one knows what they're going to cook on the way home from work. This makes it easy. What do you mean nobody knows? Families plan out their meals. They think the entire world is like me, where they live their life moment to moment and have no idea what the fuck is happening. I saw another commercial. There's a product now. It's a grill. It looks like the George Foreman grill where you close the lid on it, but it has these 2 compartments where you pour stuff in and it cooks food. And I can't remember the name. Hold on. I think I actually wrote the name of this thing down. It made me laugh so hard. It was like, you know what? Bullshit. That's the GT Express 101. That's not the laser oven. Is something completely different. The GT Express 101, which sounds like a race car or something, it's an oven that makes football-shaped food. It's basically a way to make your own Hot Pockets. But in it, they make all these different things. And again, where they say that, they take a piece of meat, like a piece of like flank steak, and they rub Parmesan garlic butter inside it and roll up asparagus inside and then cook it. Then they take it out after 15 minutes. They cut it open. And the guy goes, that looks like something out of a gourmet magazine. No, it doesn't. It looks like a piece of beef wrapped around a piece of asparagus. That's what it looks like. Where are you from, jackass? Quit trying to tell me what it looks like. It looks like you're cooking football-shaped food. It looks like you're making unhealthy garbage. That's what it looks like you're making. Because they do this thing. This woman puts biscuit dough in there, and then she pours an egg on top of it, and then a handful of cheese. She's like, hey, it's going to make a perfect breakfast sandwich. No, it's not. That's a fucking heart attack. That's what you just made. And there's always something the machine can't do, but they won't tell you what it is. But you'll get it because you'll watch how they cook. She goes to make a breakfast Hot Pocket. She goes, all right, you pour in the eggs, and you put in a little biscuit dough and some cheese, and you put some of this pre-cooked bacon in there. That's easy to get, pre-cooked bacon. Like they gloss over it because guess what? This thing doesn't cook bacon. That's what it is. So guess as much as they want you to think that it's one shot, you can make a breakfast like that. Well, guess what? You've got to get a frying pan out and pre-cook your bacon for 15 minutes before you even think about making your homemade Hot Pocket. So suck it, fake Hot Pocket. Coming after me and telling me, oh, you know what? You got to just put some pre-cooked bacon in there. And the best, even better, she goes, you know what? They challenged me to make something out of leftovers. Yes, they did, because that's what your thing makes. Leftovers. She's like, oh, we got some leftover beans and some chicken and some rice. Yes, because those things are already cooked. All your machine does is make food hot. It's like a microwave that makes pretty shapes. That's it. It's like a Play-Doh funny pumper of food. That's what it is. It makes football-shaped garbage. And they make, oh my God, they make this. They take a can of corn chowder soup and they put a box of stuffing, stovetop stuffing, and mix that up and put it in. And she goes, oh, it's a delicious meal. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? That's just a football-shaped vomit. A can of soup with a box of stuffing. And you know what's funny? Fat Mike would have loved it. I would have eaten the shit out of that, boy. I would have eaten that ass first from the bottom up. I mean, I wouldn't have even thought about it, man. I would have cleaned house on the stuffing and soup. And they call it stuffed soup. She's like, oh, it's so great, stuffed soup. No, it isn't. That's horrible. That's a ball of sodium. That's murder. That's a Hot Pocket full of murder. That's what you just made. Here's a big plate of homicide. Enjoy it. Good Christ, what her kids must just look like Jabba the Hutt. Because she keeps talking about how these are all favorite recipes of her kids and her family at home. She makes these weird like roll-ups. And the funniest thing is when they say stuff that, is triggered for housewives and things like that. She'll say, here's the thing. You know what? We're going to make a wrap. These things are so hot right now. Really? Are they? Is that the big trend? Oh, my God. Wraps. You know what? Bread is out, folks. Take a tortilla and wrap some shit up in it. That is hot. Unbelievable. And I mentioned the ShamWow earlier. That's another. It's not even an infomercial. That's like a 5-minute thing of a guy just wiping shit up and yelling at you and wringing out the ocean. Like he'll wipe up a spill and then wring out the most amazing amount of liquid that you've never seen in your life. How? Really? You filled a bathtub by wiping up a bottle of Snapple? How did that happen? And then they give you that, and he's like, you know what? You would spend $20 worth of paper towels every single month. Now you just get the ShamWow. Who is spending $20 on paper towels a month? $20 a month on paper towels? They didn't spend that in New Orleans after Katrina. Good Christ. The ShamWow. What a great name. Oh, I love it. Cryogenically frozen. It was like my favorite one was they used to have the pancake, a pancake machine. It was 2 frying pans with a hinge on it. And you poured batter in it and made pancakes. And the best part of any infomercial, again, like I said, is when they do the thing in the beginning where they show you how hard it is to make pancakes, even though it isn't. Has this happened to you? Oh, no. And they show some retard trying to chip pancake batter out of a coffee pot with a screwdriver. Nobody's doing that. Nobody's trying to make pancakes in a coffee pot. Nobody. But in the commercial, they're like, oh, look, check it out. This makes it so much easier. Terrible. I love infomercials. Can't stop watching them. Anything to do with cooking or food. Any of that stuff. And also anything that makes your cock bigger. I'm a huge fan of those, too. Those commercials are great. There's a commercial for some pill, because there's Extends. There's like a million different pills that make your cock bigger. Extamax was my new favorite. It is all testimonials from women who slept with guys with small cocks. They don't even parlay the science bullshit into it. They don't even try to come at you with facts or statistics about maybe this could happen or what have you felt better. It's just hot women talking about laughing at guys with small dicks. Extamax. And then they'll have Tales of the Tiny, and they'll have like a scream noise, and some hot chick with glasses will tell you about how some guy took his pants off and she had to stop laughing and kicked him out of her room and immediately called her friend to talk shit about him. And it's these hot chicks, and they'll say stuff like, I feel bad if a guy's not, well equipped down there because it means he's going to have to work twice as hard and make a lot of money. So I guess that means a homeless guy with a big cock is always going to get laid. Please. It's crazy. And just the way you see as bad as, oh no, chipping the pancake batter triggers a housewife, these are hot wraps. That's small dick thing for guys. They think hot chicks talking about your small dick is going to make you order these pills immediately. And then they throw it. Their bumper is Dr. Victoria's Drock. Victoria's Drock is a Playboy playmate. I don't know when she became a doctor, unless she's a doctor of small cocks. Maybe she's probably a doctor of big cocks. That's what she is. She has an MD in big cockery. So she goes on and she opens up and she's like, 88% of women will tell you that 12% of women will tell you size matters and 88% are lying. Or 88%, she says it, whatever. Basically, size matters. And it's like, are you telling me something we don't know? Of course, big cocks are better. Everybody knows that, right? Everybody knows that. Am I wrong? Anyone? I just think it's funny. They think that you're going to get fooled by this commercial and I got to get those pills immediately so I can bang these hot young chicks. This one chick says right away, she goes, hey, I'll laugh at you. I mean it. She goes, if you have game, you better step up. And if you're not packing, then I'm not interested. And then they tell stories. This girl tells a story how she'll be on the dance floor and she'll cop a feel on a guy before she decides if she's going to go any further. Man, where are these chicks? They weren't at the Foxfire, I can tell you that. Jeannie was, although, you know what? Jeannie was competent feel. Maybe she was deciding whether or not we were going to go out to the car. I have no idea. Maybe that was a make or break. I have no idea. But I love any of the Extends infomercials where they ask women about it. And then the funniest is when they interview guys who are supposedly using the product. That's the guy in the street. And they'll say, hey, are you using it? I'm using it right now. Right now? Like like you dropped one right now on the street? Oh, crazy. Who would ever buy big dick pills? Who in their mind is buying big dick pills? And then there's an entire infomercial called Shop Erotic where they're selling vibrators. They're selling sex toys. Well, apparently Lily very on board with buying her vibrator through the phone and television. That's another great infomercial because it's two hot girls, but they talk in entirely clinical terms about the vibrators and stuff, which makes it even hotter. I'm not going to lie to you. It's two girls in like long sleeve sweaters, one of them with glasses, and they're discussing the merits of the rabbit while one of them holds one in her fist. So she's just got like two-fisted around a plastic cock, and she's like, yes, it's very pleasurable. You'll notice that the shaft does vibrate, and there are beads inside of there that will allow pleasure for you and your partner, and the whole time you're just going, grab it tighter with your fist. Hold it. Seriously, squeeze it. I want to see the fake plastic veins bursting out. I just want to see your face when you're holding it. Come on. It just makes it hotter to see these just normal women talking about vibrators as if they're just, like they're talking about canned hams. Oh, my particular favorite is I like the Super Double Dutch Dong. That's one of my favorites. And, this is good for you and your partner at the same time. Yes, it is, ladies. Care to demonstrate? Actually, I don't want you to demonstrate. I hope you're staying dressed the entire time. Put a winter coat on and just talk about vibrators because you are so fucking hot. But then it'll get awkward because then they'll talk about stuff that's for guys. Like they brought out something called a Super Turbo Water Stroker. And it's because we've all seen the Fleshlight and a pocket pussy and things like that. We've all seen those, of course, everyone. I'm an idiot. Not everybody knows porn like I do. So the Fleshlight is like a pocket pussy with a light in it, and it's shaped like a mouth. Like it's awful. And they want you to fuck it. Like it's like you would stick your dick in it and pretend it was a mouth. Who's pretending there's a disembodied mouth that you're just shoving your cock in? Awful. But then they bring out the Super Turbo Water Stroker. And you fill it with water. It's really complicated. It looks like an old school lantern, and it's huge. And you fill the sides with water, and then you fit it over your cock on your lap, and then you turn it on, and it kind of massages your. Who is going through that much trouble? Just jerk off. Seriously, just jerk off. I don't need to stick my dick in a crock pot to get off. Oh my God. You can go dry. If you want to vary it up, get a handful of oil, get a handful of lotion. Go to work with that. Or go left-handed if you want to go ahead and change it up. Jesus Christ. You don't need to go ahead and spend $75 to get off. My God. Unbelievable. So when they're talking about women stuff and they're holding up, that's great. But then when they start holding up dude stuff, it's just I picture it's just lonely dudes at home buying shit over the phone, going, yeah, I'd like to stick my dick in a lamp. Let's go ahead and get that over here. I'm all for that. Terrible. But I love it. Can't stop watching the Shop Erotic infomercial. They should have Shop Erotic. Like, you know what I would love to see? The Magic Bullet people selling vibrators. They should do that. Bob's your uncle, Fanny's your aunt, and look, you get off in no time. Garlic. Nasty, stinky garlic. And I really want to have an anal bead party. All right, Hazel, an anal bead party it is. Oh, the Magic Bullet people rule. All right. I have to plug something, folks. I did an interview with Something Planet podcast, Something Planet podcast. Go to somethingplanet.com or go ahead and put Something Planet into your iTunes and it should come right up. I should be on the most recent episode. I'm not sure, but I just did it Sunday and I think it's up. All I know is a bunch of 19-year-old girls are now my friends on MySpace because they heard me on Something Planet. I'm crossing over to the young audience, folks. That's how it's working. John Jay and Stewie and I think it was Dave D. I don't know. Again, there were a million guys, and they were all very cool and very nice when they interviewed me and tolerated my nonsense for 10 minutes or whatever. But it was nice of them to have me on, and I appreciate it. So go to Something Planet, listen to their podcast, and again, it's like 3 to 5 dudes busting each other's balls and having fun talking about MMA and everything else and doing horoscopes, and it was fun. It was really a good time. I was only on for like 10 minutes, but I've listened to the show and I liked it, so go ahead and check them out at Something Planet. Thank you for having me on, fellas. You can always write me, Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. You can go to myspace.com/Mike Schmidt Comedy and contact me through there. And also subscribe through iTunes. And go ahead and please leave feedback at iTunes. That would be great. I'd appreciate it. So would the iTunes people, because they love it when they think that people are paying attention. I think I might get promoted at iTunes. Who knows? So go ahead. That's myspace.com/Mike Schmidt Comedy. Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com. and also go to iTunes and subscribe through there. That would be great. I've heard from people that want an RSS feed. I have to talk to my web guy and get that taken care of. I will do it, I promise. Also, I wanted to a lot of people last week wrote me wondering what the song was at the end of the show. That was a song called Kelly's Lazy Papa, and it's a mashup. It was a mashup of Kelly Osbourne's version of Papa Don't Preach and a band I think called G2 Express. They did a song called Lazy, which was actually a song that sampled David Byrne's song Lazy. So that's David Byrne singing that you hear from Talking Heads, but it's the music from Kelly Osbourne's Papa Don't Preach. So that was done by a guy named Mark Vidler. He's a DJ at Go Home Productions. So if you search Go Home Productions, I think that the website I think is GHP. Oh Christ, I couldn't even tell you. It might be gohomeproductions.com. But just go ahead and Google Mark Vidler, Vidler, or Google Go Home Productions, or even Google Kelly's Lazy Papa, and I'm sure you're going to be able to find this song somewhere online because that's where I got it. It was a mashup, and it is one of my favorites. And that guy does just fantastic mashup stuff. As a matter of fact, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and I'll use another mashup at the end here. Will I? I don't know. I usually you know what? Fuck it. I'm not doing that. I'm not, because I usually like to let the show decide what I'm going to do. But in the future, I will use more Mark Vidler stuff. And also, remember that Never Not Funny Season 1 is available. Go ahead to my website and click on Store and go and buy it, because it's 60 hours of fantastic stuff. And, 59 hours of fantastic stuff, and then one really awkward hour, as I've mentioned. But go ahead and check it out. That'd be great. Write me, Mike at MikeSchmidtComedy.com, and why do I say the addresses a billion times? Who didn't get them down? Is there anybody out there who's just going, oh, Christ, I missed the address? Please say it 5 more times. That would be great if you go ahead and do that. Talk about where we can contact you and what we could write, because God knows we want to contact you. We seriously need to write you, especially after this week. We got to write you about this horrible, horrible thing you've done to our lives. Oh, that's terrible. But I can't stop watching the infomercials. I love them. And you know what? And I love the big dick pill thing is just hysterical because they have like 9 different ones. They always under the guise of sex talk, and they want to have people coming on and talking about sex. But it's always hot women telling one dude about how they're glad everybody has a big cock. But then they'll give you the pitch, and they'll tell you that, you go ahead and get your girth increased and your size increased and all these different things increase. And then there's this really tiny print that says none of this works. Literally, that's what it says. It says, oh yeah, you know what? None of this works. None of this increasing stuff works. But they do offer this, and this is my favorite part of the entire commercial. If it doesn't work, after 30 days, you get your money back, which is probably true. You do. But do you really think they're going to make it that fucking easy? Don't you think maybe they're going to make you talk in an open courtroom about how your small dick didn't get bigger when you used their pills for 30 days? So then everybody is exposed to the fact that you bought the pills. Everybody's exposed to the fact that you have a small dick. Not only do you have a small dick, but you're gullible and a sucker who wound up falling for something late night, and you went ahead and bought the big dick pills, took them every day for 30 days. Didn't just take them for like a day and then give up. Didn't realize that they didn't make. You are that uncomfortable and insecure with yourself and the size of your cock that you actually got on a vitamin regimen to try to make your cock bigger. And they're going to make you say every single word of that at some sort of weird deposition before they hand you back your check for $40. You know that's going to happen. So that is a money-back guarantee that no one has ever used. I guarantee no one has ever gone ahead and said, you know what, I'm going to have to get my money back for these, because they will make you testify in open court that you are a shrimp dick dude, and they are not going to have that happen, because you are not about to give yourself over to doing something like that. I can't even imagine that. You know what I want to see? I want to see the guy with the balls to do it. And granted, they're tiny balls, let's be honest, because otherwise he wouldn't have bought the pills. But I picture that guy having to go into a courtroom and swear, do you tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do. Sir, tell us about your little dick. Well, where do you want to start? I've had a small cock my entire life. So much so that I was fooled by an infomercial of hot chicks in glasses telling me that I could make my cock bigger with a pill. This is almost as funny as the time I thought I could make my cock bigger by tying a weight to it and hanging it. Because I saw it on the internet one time. I thought it would work. I'm a dick, folks. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm a decent guy because I am a jerk. And I'm not a jerk. Man, I'm an awful guy. I'm not an awful guy. I am not a good guy. But I don't think I'm a bad person overall. So, and go ahead and by all means judge that. I'm kind of a jagoff. I got no future. What am I talking about? But I am a jagoff. And I'm not a jerk. I'm a nice guy. It's just I guess I have jerky tendencies. I've done so much ridiculous stuff, and then I wonder afterwards, I'm like, man, how come I don't hang out with anybody? Here's why, because you're a dick. You're finished. 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 You're finished.